And we are live.
Hey. What's good? What's good, everybody? Real Talk with Rich. We back in the building. And tonight we are doing a show. I have the lovely, the Queen Tamiko with me on tonight. I have Derek in the building, our wizard in the background, and I have the Chief Don Dada Paul. How's everybody doing?
All is well.
All right.
Doing great. I'm going to slip on into the background now to take care of some issues in the background.
Gotcha. Appreciate you. Want to salute everybody in the chat that's joining us. Want to thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight. We're doing the show. It is Sunday Night Live, and so we're not going to prolong the time. We're just going to jump right on in. My man Paul is under the weather a little bit, so he will be a part. But you know, the cult of bass is going to be limited tonight. So we need y'all to lay off the trigger words like Wakanda forever, you know, save T'Challa. We just need y'all to lay off.
There's the man with the Black Panther shirt on.
I've got.
You know what it is. Well, I mean, it's just. I mean, hey, what can I say? You know, that's our man's in there.
I don't have any heart-shaped herb tea to take.
No, that's tragic, man. I tell you. But anyway, guys, had a wonderful day today. Your man's was hanging out, of course. You know, everybody, a lot of people that don't know or don't know, I am an associate pastor at a church. And so part of preaching and teaching or whatever, I operate in a number of different ministries. And so I took on a new role as a shepherd in a play. I was a shepherd in a play. And I got to say, I did my thing. I held my staff real steady. I didn't fall. I had my little, you know, covering and all my flowing robe. I was nice. You know, if it had been like 2000, you know, BC or AD, is that 2000 BC, I'd have been the man. So I had fun with it though. It is the holiday season, y'all. So, you know, again, speaking of holiday season, look, we got some merch on our website that you guys need to go get. I want to say that from the jump. Please go check out our website, blackcomiclords.net. It's hoodie season, cold weather. Get you a long sleeve shirt, get you a nice hoodie, get you a hat like my man Paul's got on his head right here, right? Or that t-shirt that he's wearing. You know. Just go visit. We got some new stuff on there too. You know, if you want to be, you know, if you want to be a troll, we have a Housewives of Wakanda shirt.
It's coming.
It's coming. Stay tuned. We're gonna get that out before Christmas. We're gonna get that out before Christmas, y'all. But we got some merch there, so we want you guys to go to the site, check it out, and pick something up. Okay. So with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and start our show. We're gonna start the show. Normally we would do comics of the week, but we're going to push that back and we're going to get into low-hanging fruit. Low-hanging fruit is a segment of our show where we just talk news, comic book news. We talk about whatever just comes to mind that just we feel like we want to talk about and share. And the first article that we want to look at is this one here from thedirect.com. Over reportedly unhappy with Phase 4, considering major changes to Phase 5, 6 slate. Okay. This could go a number of ways, right? And the reason why this is so important is that Phase 4 just ended with Black Panther Wakanda Forever. That signified the end of Phase 4. Phase 5 will start, I want to say, is it February when Ant and Wasp Quantumania comes out, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
they're starting to rethink what they've been doing, and all of it was because of what happened in Phase 4. We all know that Phase 4 is not exactly the strongest phase that was in the MCU, but here we are. Okay, they bet the house and they farm on two movies in particular, and that was Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, which is still making money. It's almost up to $800 million. It's gonna reach $1 billion, y'all. So y'all minus those of y'all that's poo-pooing it, thinking it ain't gonna make $1 billion. You can forget that. It's not a matter of if; it's just a matter of when. 3 weeks in a row, number one in the box office. So please kill that. But the movie that they really was putting their money on was Thor: Love and Thunder, and it was not received well. I personally did not go to the theaters to see it because I like Thor as a character, but I got kind of tired of the comedic relief that they have made Thor in the MCU. Thor in the comic books is that dude. He likes to smack people and toss his hammer around. And so while I like Chris Hemsworth, I just want to see a real Thor. I mean,
It's
the
funny you
best.
should say that. It's funny you should say that. Chris Helmsworth himself has reportedly said that he's tired of doing the Taiki Waititi version of his character and would like to get to more of the serious side of Thor. And I think what was specifically mentioned was the Thor that you saw in Infinity War, which
Yes.
of course was not done by Taiki Waititi. It was done by the Russo brothers.
Mhm.
It's interesting. The Russo brothers repeatedly do better with these characters than the individual directors that do their individual films oftentimes. But yeah, I mean, I mean, when I think of that Russo brothers Thor in Infinity War, you think of that scene where he comes down into Wakanda with his hammered. I mean, name a better scene that you've ever seen Thor than that, where
Yeah.
he's smacking Thanos' forces left and right with lightning and thunder and throwing his hammer about and just wreaking havoc and putting the axe where it belongs in the dude's chest. That's real Thor.
Yeah. Yeah. I really enjoyed that, especially that part when he grabbed Thanos by the back of his head. But of course, that was before Thanos snapped and killed everybody. When he said, "I told you I was gonna kill you." But yeah,
What's up,
that
Austin?
was. But guys, I mean, what do you guys think about this? So basically, what this article is,
Brian's telling us what he thinks. He says, "I need a more serious Thor." I also felt that they wasted Sator. I agree.
you gets no argument from me. Here's the thing, though. We're talking delays. Let's just cut through the chase. What this means, what they're reconsidering. You're talking delays, and you're talking to probably some movies, shows being perhaps moved. I think that they have too much on the line, and because it's like, okay, if DC is getting their stuff together and you're like on the decline, that doesn't bode well for your business long term. If they're going to continue to churn out these Marvel movies like they quote unquote think they are, they got to be more consistent. They got to put out a better product. And I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just when we look at Phase 4, what is this? What is the signature movie of Phase 4? Let me just ask you guys that.
The
Well,
signature movie.
being biased, it would be Black Panther for me, Wakanda Forever,
Okay.
and with Shang-Chi coming at a very close second.
Okay.
So that was pretty much the beginning and the end of the phase, which the movies that I really, really liked. Now,
Okay.
about Marvel, they're now going to the phrase of quality before quantity. Because before it was just throwing out movies and throwing out shows and specials and all that stuff. So it's good for them to pare that down and perhaps work more on the story that they want to tell. and the mediums that they wish to tell it.
Eon
Now,
agrees with you.
I like the Disney Plus shows now. Don't get me wrong, because see, I'm a comic head, so I'm in whatever it's in, I'm in all of it. So they could cut down a couple of shows, or turn them into specials like they did like for Werewolf by Night. That would be cool, you know. So leave some of the shows there to coincide with the movies, and then maybe one or two less movies. Don't go to the. I don't want them to go to the other extreme of they cut out all the Disney Plus stuff and then we have just movies, because that's not fun. I truly enjoyed the narrative throughout Phase 4, even if I didn't enjoy every movie.
It's interesting because
I had 3 movies that I really enjoyed in Phase. There's I don't think Phase. Maybe I'm in the minority in this. I don't think Phase 4 is as bad as many people make it out to be. I personally enjoyed Multiverse of Madness. I said I've long been quoted as saying I think that's one of the most important films that Disney's made for their future, because having the casual audience understand the concept of the multiverse as it applies to these MCU movies is important, because the multiverse allows the MCU to be rebooted, which it will be. It has to be at some point, because these actors are going to age out of these roles. Contracts will not be renewed, and they need to keep the train moving. Rebooting the universe allows them to reintroduce some of these same characters all over again, or introduce characters that previously were splintered off into other companies or other properties, such as how you see with Universal with Hulk and Namor, or with the X-Men over at 20th Century Fox or Fantastic Four. So the multiverse is going to make all of that possible. So I really think Multiverse of Madness for me is probably the most important part of Phase 4, because it's setting up 5 and 6. Wakanda Forever, I think, was a good movie, but it wasn't really tied to the rest of the MCU in terms of its impact there. It's going to make them a lot of money. That's for certain. The other movie that I thought was really good personally, and I never get tired of watching, is Shang-Chi. I thought that was basically a sort of almost a Black Panther 2 in terms of its scale and how it was well executed it was, and finally seeing proper martial arts in the MCU, I thought was pretty dope too. And then the Disney Plus shows were good. I mean, there was in this same phase we had the Vision and WandaVision. We had Loki. We had Moon Knight, Falcon and Winter Soldier. How can you say those were not good? I don't see it. I think people are just being.
I mean, but see, I when I initially when I was talking earlier, Paul, I said that Marvel had they bet the farm on 2 movies. It wasn't those other movies that they were betting the farm on. They were betting the farm on Thor, Love and Thunder, and Black Panther.
Yeah.
And while those other films that you talked about were great, I enjoyed them. I think that Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness was an excellent film. I didn't like what they did in the film. I didn't like the annihilation of the Illuminati, because that, and I get the whole thing. Well, yeah, it is the multiverse, and we'll get another version. The multiverse stuff, like I said, it just really, I'm a simple man. Give me simple things. Give me a simple story. So, we'll work through it, what I'm saying, but it can be problematic. And when you were talking about, the multiverse, whatever, I want to bring a book out, a comic book, since we are a comic book, theme group or whatever. This book here just came out, Avengers Assemble. Avengers Assemble Alpha. Now, this particular book has it has a number of Avengers in it. There are Avengers from the regular time, then there are prehistoric Avengers, there are multiversal Avengers, and then there's the multiversal of Masters of Evil Avengers. So this book here is not an easy read. And the reason why I say it's not an easy read is because you have to kind of understand some certain things before you try to take on the task of really understanding what's going on in this particular book. And see, for casuals or whatever, right? They can kind of get in on the deal, to your point, Paul. But what I think we run into trouble is that when you start introducing these different streams or these different timelines, like they did in Loki, you can't figure out what's what. And do you think that when they bring out Secret Invasion, that's going to help things? That might make people more confused.
That's what Secret Invasion did. It confused you.
Yeah.
It
So
made you question reality.
Yeah. I mean, but the thing is, though, they're looking at their balance sheet, Paul, and they're saying, we might need to do some things different. The Eon One says they need to invest in new key Marvel characters and not Z-list like Agatha or characters that have run their course like Thor. Where's Nova, for example? They do need some new blood. I will say that they definitely need some new blood. I think that the introduction of Kang is going to help because we haven't had a real baddie, quote unquote, since Thanos or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So we've had some movies and we've had some villains, but we haven't had a real, antagonist that we can like really point to in everything, which is why everybody's kind of still waiting on Doom. You know what I'm saying, to show up. I mean, I think
Doom was a missed opportunity in Wakanda Forever. They should have done an end credit second scene, or in my case, one scene with Doom as the big revealed to be the big bad, trying to get vibranium.
We'll see. Now, James P. Shout out to JT, JC, Blue Marvel. Let's go. Now, and see, of course, we did get the news that Blue Marvel is going to be in the Marvels movie. Great. I'm happy. I really, really am. I thought that the movie was going to be great by itself, but if he's showing up, cool. Because, I want to see Monica Rambeau. I want to see her in her new uniform. I want to see her do her thing with Carol Danvers. I want to see how Miss Marvel fits into this. So the Marvels movie is pretty interesting, in that we don't know what story they're going to tell, but of course everything, everybody's thinking it's we're heading or we're marching to Secret War. So either way, that's the movie that I'm most intrigued about that's coming up. I'm not sure when they're going to release that movie, but we finally got news that Blue Marvel is coming to the big screen, so that's great. So James Thompson, in the movie, how though? What you mean?
We're not
how's Blue Marvel going to be in it? Well, look, I don't expect to see my man's in his Blue Marvel. You're probably going to see Adam Brashear. You may see him as Adam Brashear, and he may be working in some capacity with them. We don't know. That's the thing. We don't know. The little pictures that we got were the 3 Marvels. It wasn't Blue Marvel wasn't listed. So again, we don't know his capacity. We just heard and got confirmation that he's going to be in the movie. So I don't know if it's going to be Adam Brashear or if it's going to be Blue Marvel. We got Bill Foster, but we didn't get Black Goliath. So there's that. Run.
I don't think that we should run into, a whole lot of speculation about who's going to do what, because then you'll work yourself up into that for Wakanda Forever lather that y'all worked yourselves up into for a whole entire year before the movie even came out.
I feel attacked. I feel attacked with that statement.
I'm tired. Okay, I don't want to sit here and have discussions on what might be. I will just.
You don't want to have discussions on what might be? That's what we do.
No, y'all take it to a different level. That
you mean like going so far as to like, do stuff like this?
What's he going?
Let's see.
Blue Marvel's coming. Y'all not excited? Blue Marvel and Spectrum in the same film? Black Super Love coming to the building?
Y'all funny.
We can't get T'Challa and Storm. T'Challa's a little teenage boy, not even a teenage boy. He's not even pubescent yet.
I'm going to keep my expectations on the floor. I'm not expecting them to give me anything close to what I want. So hopefully I will like what they give me.
I always demand what I want, and this is what I want.
Well, look, we don't know if Spectrum and Blue Marvel is going to show up like that. I see you got the picture with him with the cape. Now, I would like to see Blue Marvel back with the cape, but I don't think we're going to get that. I hope I can only hope.
Symbolizes too much.
Yeah, absolutely. Derek, could you please bring back up that last comment? I missed it just now. I think Eon 01 said something. I wanted to kind of respond to it. Bill Foster, yeah, that's how they're gonna do him. He'll be sitting in a chair somewhere. He'll be sitting in a chair somewhere. Yeah, shout out to Lawrence Fishburne. Man, had like 30 seconds screen time. Well, I mean, here's the thing. We know Black Goliath. We see him on comic book covers always get knocked out. So I don't know if it would have done good for our self-esteem to see a giant black man get knocked out. So
repeatedly.
We gotta pick our battles. We gotta pick and choose our battles when it comes to that.
Some of y'all gotta get that self-esteem up.
Austin asked a question. He said, has family heard about DC quitting on Aquaman, Shazam, and Black Adam? Future is uncertain based on box office numbers.
What?
I haven't heard anything about that.
Oh, they got to give us one more Jason, and then they can do whatever they want. How they gonna do us like that?
There was rumors that Jason may be trying to move on to Lobo. James Gunn's maybe made some hints on that.
But see, that's the thing. James Gunn has said a lot in the last few days. He
talks a lot.
He talks a lot. And so, I mean, look, guys, he's paid to bring the hype, so to speak. That's why DC brought him in. I had to think about what Rico was talking about when we did our last show and saying that James Gunn can be problematic. I mean, he definitely is an unfiltered dude and will come off the hinges at times. But I do think that his job is going to like stir the pot, so to speak. But basically what James Gunn is going to have to do is he's going to have to sit down with the DC execs and be like, look, this is what we can do. This is what we not doing. I mean, DC is still under, I think, another wave of layoffs. So while he might have his mind and thoughts and he wants to do this, he wants to do this, he wants to do that, what he's going to be able to do may be a different thing. So now as far as Shazam goes, I'm going to be honest. I'm not invested in Shazam. I am invested in Black Adam. And I am invested in Shazam through that relationship. So with them being in the same movie perhaps someday soon, more people seem to be, they want to see Black Adam and Superman, which is great. I get it. But we all know that Black Adam is part of the Shazam family. So we'll probably see that before we actually see Henry Cavill put on the blue again and square off against. I mean, we could only hope for. Tamiko, I think this whole situation with us wanting to see things is because they troll us. They troll us, Tamiko, and because they troll us.
DJ Wizard has put up Dr. Wizard. Sorry, DJ Wizard. I'm the Cole Medicine. Dr. Wizard has put up a little poll for us. How do you rate MCU Phase 4? Half of y'all say it's bad.
They're hating.
Okay, awesome, and bad. I
mean, I thought it was okay. And Black Adam, and bad? I'm sorry.
A lot.
To go back to Black Adam, it didn't do that horribly. for them to sit
No.
there and say, well, we're not going to give Dwayne Johnson another go.
Well, fam, tell us in the chat why you think it's bad. What are the things that you thought was bad about Phase 4? I mean, I knew it wasn't as good as the other phases. I agree with you on that. But to say it's bad, I mean, I don't know if I would say it's all bad. There are some bright spots in it for me.
And you're not allowed to bring up She-Hulk.
Yes,
You're not allowed to bring up
Not.
She-Hulk. Oh, listen to me.
You know what? Y'all gonna stop. Look, while the chat is talking about that, let's move on to our next news item. We want to talk. We want to get. I'm gonna call this out of the comics into real life. So, there's an esteemed gentleman who played NFL football, one of my favorite athletes of all times, Mr. Deion Sanders. And Deion has been a all-star guy, played football and baseball. The only athlete, by the way, I believe, that has hit a home run and scored a touchdown in the same week. Deion Sanders is that dude. Went to Florida State and, played a lot of his career in Dallas.
Florida State. Shout out to Rico Jones.
I forgot that, the youth building. So anyway, after Deion retired, became a Hall of Famer, he decided to coach his son's high school football team. And it was through his educating and his coaching at the high school level that got him interested in coaching, Division I or Division II schools. He winds up at Jackson State University, which is in Mississippi. And he wins back-to-back SWAC titles while he is there. And he has brought a spotlight to, HBCU sports. He was a beacon of light in the HBCU sports. But like all good things, they must come to an end. And so my man has decided to take his talents.
Not to South Beach.
He didn't have to go that far. He just went a couple of states over to Colorado, where he is going to be coaching Colorado, University of Colorado Buffaloes. And it's a program right now that's struggling, and they do believe that Deion Sanders is the answer. So Paul is going to share a clip. We're going to kind of listen to it, and we're going to come back and we're going to give you our thoughts. So take it away, sir. See if we can hear it.
You can't hear it?
Nuh-uh.
You can't hear anything?
No, sir.
Well, that's not going to work.
Well, okay, let's keep going. So anyway, what you was going to hear is him talk to his football team and kind of go over some things about, why he's doing what he was doing. And, it's not about the money. Anytime they tell you it's not about the money, it's always about the money.
More specifically, what I thought was interesting, my brother pulled a bit of a Rick James moment, right? He starts out by telling his team, look, in the world of sports, in the world of coaching, you either move on up to a higher profile, better place, or you get fired. And I'm deciding to move to a better place. But please don't interpret that as, this is a bad school or this is a less than school, because it's not. You guys are champions. I respect you. I love you guys, etc. With that being said, the transfer portal opens up on Monday, and you'll have the opportunity to transfer to better schools, and we'll help you through that process. It's kind of like, what? Wait, you just said we were in a good school. Now you're telling us about transfer portal opens on Monday, and that they have the opportunity to transfer to better schools. I thought you said this school was fine. I mean, are we supposed to transfer out of the SWAC? I mean, it was a bit two-faced to me. I don't have any problems with the man going off to another job is going to pay him more money and go secure the bag. But having that speech, just I thought it was a little poor form in my opinion. It just doesn't smell right, because you understand, for the criticism is that if you're in the SWAT, you're not as good of an athlete, and you have less opportunities, which is why they have such a hard time getting good athletes to go into that conference. And he's kind of proven the point that when the bag is there, it's better to move on up to a school that does not have a lot of people that looks like him.
Okay. Well, okay. What do you think about this, Tamiko?
Well, I'm not a sports girl. So purely from my lens of looking from the outside, Black people have a tendency to deify people. We're looking for a savior. And JSU thought that they found a savior. And then when they realized that this is just a man who has designs and things of his own and wants to move on, now they're angry because you're supposed to stay here and save us. And, people don't treat their saviors real well either. So, because we don't really know how well they treated him at JSU for all that he did for them. Yes. So I think that anybody sitting there being negative about him going on to Colorado, they're just hating.
Gotcha. It's interesting. I see both sides to this equation, and being from Houston, in Houston we have a HBCU school, Texas Southern University. Michael Strahan is an alumni of that school, and I will tell you that
Jennings is an alumni of that school too.
What?
I believe our brother John Jennings, Professor John Jennings, I think he also graduated from Jackson State.
Okay. Well, I was mentioning that I was in Houston and with Texas Southern. Now, here's the thing about HBCU schools in particular. HBCU schools are underfunded. That's not a secret. Whether you are in the SWAC or the MEAC or all these other conferences or whatever, I can tell you that these schools often have to rely on help from the state that they're in for help. It's a fact. Here's another thing. It's in Mississippi, the poorest state in the whole entire country. Also, he's there at a time when they can't even get drinking water. Okay? They got bigger problems than he's coaching at their school. Now, he did something that they hadn't done before, which is win 2 back-to-back SWAC titles. He brought awareness. He put them on ESPN. They had the spotlight. Now, let's just be honest. Dion was there for a job. That's it. He did some things and shed some light while he was there, which is what he was supposed to do. But at the same time, this is a former pro athlete that's more about securing the bag. And I'm not gonna say he doesn't care about the kids, because I believe that he does.
Well, he definitely does. He definitely does.
He's also a capitalist, and part of being a capitalist is capitalizing. So he's no different than his white counterparts that go to white schools, white small schools, build them up, and then take a major top 5 program. If you don't believe me, go talk to Nick Saban. Go talk to what was the guy that was in Texas? Matt Brown. All of these guys started at smaller schools, and now they're at high, top profile programs. It's a part of the deal. Now, I'm saying because I mentioned earlier that he went to FSU. He went to Florida State. That's not a HBCU school. So for all of my HBCU guys out there and gals, if you are feeling some type of way because he decided to go and get his bread, I have to, respectfully submit to you and ask the question, like we ask the question of people in this in this place all the time. Have you read the comics? I'm going to ask you guys, have you donated to your alumni? So, you know what I'm saying? You pocket watching somebody that, you know what I'm saying, and you won't even contribute to your own school. They literally, my dad went to Texas Southern University, he's a graduate. My dad gets letters every year from the Alumni Association asking for money because they need to ask for money. Most people that graduate major schools or whatever, they don't have to ask them to give back. They automatically do it. Some people even go as far as to put their school in their will to ensure that the money that they have accumulated, that it helps the next generation of students. But when it comes to us, us black people, we pocket watching everybody else, but not ourselves. And as long as it's like that, you can't win. And so I watch Facebook, and some of my friends that go to HBCUs and who have been HBCU graduates go up and down about this. This is why I want to talk about it, because I just feel like some of y'all just doing too much. And some of y'all just need to take it for what it is. Because guess what? JSU is going to field the football team next year. May not be the team you like. It may not be headed by the guy you want, but they're going to do it. The life goes on. So get over yourself. It reminds me of the movie or the show The Wire, when Marlo goes into a convenience store and he steals a piece of candy in front of a security guard, and he walks outside and he tells the guy, "You want it to be one way." And the guy's like, "Stop saying that." Like, "No, you want it to be one way." But he turns around before Chris is a forcer pulls up and says, "But it's the other way." Welcome to America, y'all. It's the other way. You want Dion to stay there 30, 40 years. You want Dion to be Eddie Robinson. Ain't happening. He's Coach Primetime. So next year, y'all will watch Coach Primetime on the sidelines in Colorado. He went from the blackest state. He went from the blackest state in America to the whitest state in America. and if I could be a troll, I would almost say it's like you left the sister and you went and got your white girl. But I don't want to say that though. So, you know what I'm saying? Do what you do. That's all I'm going to say. Just do what you do. But with that being said, y'all, let me see. Dion gave half his salary back to school to upgrade the facility. Yes, see, that's what I'm talking about. He did what he was supposed to do while he was there. You can't fault that dude for going to get his money. We can't, I mean, as much as we might have wanted him to stay and be that staple or whatever, there are many HBCU athletes that are working in media today, that are coaching. A lot of times they don't go without notice because no one cares. You know, nobody's calling up Jerry Rice and say, "Jerry, what you doing?" He's an HBCU alum. Nobody's calling up Michael Stray. "Michael, what have you done for Texas Southern University?" And I can tell you, being from Houston and knowing people that know him and know of him, that's been a discussion. Well, he don't really say too much about Texas Southern University. Wonder why that is. And it is what it is. I mean, HBCUs are great for our community. They're great for our young kids that choose to go to them. But are they perfect places? No, they're not. And you're going to have problems. And I think that's one of the reasons why Dion did what he could, but at the same time, it's like he can't continue to go too well, because I'm pretty sure the good people of Mississippi, while they appreciated his profile, probably did not appreciate his candor, his honesty about what's going on there, because again, Mississippi is the poorest state in the union. Facts. So I think we got to just get over that, let the man congratulate the brother, and let's get back to comics. What you guys say?
Sounds good to me.
With that said, Derek, I'm going to ask you to take us to commercial. If you could just bring up one commercial, sir. We're going to take a quick break, guys, and we're going to come back with Comics of the Week. And that's a segment where we just talk about the books we've read this week. So don't go nowhere. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. blackcomiclords.net. Get you some merch. That beautiful shirt that Paul has on, you can get that. That sticker that Tamiko just showed you, you can get that. You can get that on a shirt. You can get that on a mask. You can get that on a backpack. You can get that on a mug. You can get that on you can get that on anything. We got it for you. We got some heat for you. Go to our website, blackcomiclords.net, and check us out. We're back. Yes. So please go visit the website. Go check out our merch. Check out all of our offerings that we have there, whether it's blogs, whether it's spec stuff, whether it's Black Issue Explorer, where you can pick up on some Black keys. We got it all for you at blackcomiclords.net. And also, if you have not done so, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel, our YouTube channel. And if you're not a part of Facebook, join Facebook and be a part of the Black Comic Lords and Black Superheroes family. I promise you, it gets gangster where we at, in a good way. So we are at our segment of the day, Comics of the Week. That's where we pick up some books. They don't have to be new books, but they could be some books that we are just in So, what did you pick up this week? And what really had you stoked, or what had you excited?
All right. Oh, you talking to me?
Yeah, you.
Yes. My bad. I'm sorry, because loud folks coming up my block. All right.
Okay.
So I had pretty slim pickings at my LCS this week, but I got my box from Things from Another World, my pre-orders. Okay. I make sure I get my pre-orders at least once a month to make sure that I get all of the good stuff for lower than cover price. So out of that whole box, I had about 40 comics in there. But these right here were my particular gems of the week. Okay. So we'll go from DC. GCPD, right. The Blue Wall.
Yes.
Now this, of course, they would consider it a Batman title, but this actually features Commissioner Renee Montoya and 3 different officers of color that they're following in this series. And this is written by John Ridley. And I think John Ridley.
The outlaw, John Ridley, the American outlaw writer. He is forbidden from ever entering Wakanda again.
Okay.
Please continue with your show.
I feel that GCPD, The Blue Wall, this is a worthy contender to another comic called Gotham Central. Now, I collected all of those. I loved it because this dealt with, the real people behind Gotham at the Gotham PD, what they do when Batman does what he does and the rogues do what they do, and then the aftermath is usually the GCPD picks it up. This particular issue, it's gritty, it's real. I would caution you. Now, if you're sensitive about racial matters and things and other personal things, okay, be careful. But this book hit me right in the feels at the end of it.
Shout out to John Ridley. I bought your book too, by the way. I'm a big fan of John Ridley.
So yeah, GCPD is my top DC pick this week. And of course, for Marvel, because I didn't have many indies in it this week, so maybe next week. But of course, y'all know. Okay. Yeah. I am an X-Men gal. Okay. They have my heart. They was the first comics I collected from Marvel as a 12-year-old comic had to be. So X-Men Red, for all of you folks who don't read this, Abigail
Shame.
Brand is ramping things up. Now, Cable and all the other Brotherhood of Mutants on Araco, now they're trying to
Mhm.
figure out what's going on and how to stop her. And of course, at the end of this, I'll give you one tiny little spoiler. At the end of this, Abigail Brand brings out her big gun, which is Vulcan.
Yep. Yep.
That errant Summers child, who was running around in Shi'ar space tearing stuff up. He's now come back to himself, the jerk, the emperor, and now
Yeah.
he's about to tear things up. So this one is, of course, issue 8, the variant, because I'm a variant girl, and it has my friend Storm on the cover, so I had to do it. This is the NetEase cover.
Yeah, it's dope.
It's about to get hot in X-Men Red.
Yeah.
So that's my comics of the week.
Okay. Mr. Paul, what you got, bro?
I'll just keep it all digital for you guys. First book I had some reticence about reading. My man Mark kept asking me to read it regardless, and I finally got around to doing it. And he's right; it's good. And I should have had more faith in my man Victor Laval. That book being Eve, Children of the Moon. Issue 2 dropped. I got this cover for this issue. Good book, really good book. I was a fan of the original run until that last issue, which was clearly rushed. But this has started off really well. Great start. So you have Eve and her sister in this post-apocalyptic world that's ravaged by disease, and they're trying to reconnect with the survivors. But with them still is the cuddly teddy bear, android demon assassin Wexler,
Deadly.
who no one trusts, and it provides some problems for them in trying to reconnect with the human race. I'll just say it as that. I think that's pretty much a summary of what's going on. They introduced a new character in this series. Another, I won't say who that person is, but as an adversary, and good read. Shout out to Victor Laval, excellent writer. Next book I have up is a series that I've talked about a few times because I am a hardcore Star Trek fan. This Star Trek series is excellent. I'm a huge Star Trek fan. My favorite Star Trek series is Star Trek Deep Space Nine. This is a Deep Space Nine continuation in that it takes place 3 years after the end of that series, and brings back Captain Sisko, and he's on a quest to find out who these aliens are who are trying to kill the higher beings in their galaxy. But what makes this interesting is it's actually a menagerie of, to play a word on puns for those of you hardcore Trek fans, a menagerie of various characters across all the different Star Trek television shows. So you have Benjamin Sisko from Deep Space Nine on the show. You have Dr. Crusher and Data from the Next Generation on his ship. You have Scotty from the original television series as his chief engineer on the ship, because if you're a Trek fan, Scotty put himself in suspended animation in a transporter buffer for like almost 100 years and is in their present timeline of Star Trek. So he's the chief engineer of his ship. And Tom Paris from Voyager is his helmsman. So it's a hodgepodge and put together of this crew that consists of characters from across the Star Trek universe. And it's just a dope show. And then it has Worf, who's like one of my favorite characters from Star Trek of all time. Worf is also a part of this crew, and he's a part of both Deep Space Nine and Next Generation. Great story. I don't want to give away too much of the plot, but I highly recommend it if you're a Star Trek fan.
That's awesome. I happen to be wearing my Black Alert Discovery shirt.
Yeah, it's a great show. You really gotta watch. It's a great book. You really need to pick it up.
I'm gonna get it.
Finally, a series that both Rich and I talk about all the time. This series is so, I don't know if people talk about it or reading it. I don't see people talking about it much, but Strange Academy.
Yeah.
Strange Academy is just consistently a very, very, very good book. No one knew Scotty Young could write. I mean, they knew that he does, cute covers and stuff that people love, but he's actually a really good writer. We already knew Humberto Ramos is an excellent artist from his runs on Spider-Man, and most importantly to me, on his runs in Milestone Universe. He was one of the artists on Hardware. That's where he first got my attention. I first learned about him. And the two of them are just such a great team. Every time I read an issue from this book, I keep just kicking myself because we were just talking about Phase 4 of the MCU and Disney Plus shows. This is a series that's written to be a Disney Plus show.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the script is all there. They literally don't have to change anything. Just follow the book, and it makes for an incredible television show. If it's kind of like Harry Potter meets New Mutants, that's basically what this is. I can't say enough about this series. In this particular issue, if you have been following it, the school had sort of fallen apart at the end of the previous volume. Many of the students walked away because they felt the staff wasn't really being upfront with them and telling them the truth about certain things. In this issue, a lot of those students come back and they go on a mission to save their friend who has been captured and snared with the villain Gaslamp, who grants wishes. And so they infiltrating his base to try and get their friend back. Exciting story, builds up where you left off, and jumps right into the action. So I highly recommend this book. I highly recommend this series. I mean, Zoe Laveau, who you see on the cover there to the left, and Shaylee to the right are their black characters. Interesting, in this particular issue, they introduce I want to say it's a glorified cameo of a black character. They didn't say his name, a young student, a black male character.
Mm-hmm.
But he has like several panels that he's talking on. I thought that was kind of interesting. They never introduced him before. And you don't often have a character just get several panels just to talk and influence the storyline. So he may be someone to look out for if they build upon him. I'm curious to see if they build upon and define who he is in the future. Mm-hmm. So those are my reads of the week.
Okay. Well, I read a gang of stuff this week. My
congratulations, Austin.
Book, yeah, congratulations, Austin. That's
all 9.8s. Good Lord.
Yeah, that's dope. That's dope. I
ain't mad at that. Spend some cheddar on that.
That's an accomplishment. We pay some bread for that. I ain't gonna lie.
That's mortgage money.
That costs a lot of money. So my first book that I want to talk about is I'm not going to do spoilers. I'm not going to even go into details. Philadelphia number 25.
Yes,
Philadelphia number 25 is Philadelphia is one of my favorites. It is my favorite comic that's out that I read. I Stand by Philadelphia by Rodney Barnes and Jason Sean Alexander. And I will say, without getting into anything as far as the book is concerned, 25 issues in this run. This is an incredible book. And we had a pivot in this book. This is a critical book for Philadelphia going forward. Suffice to say that one of the main characters has exit stage left. That's all I'm going to say. But if you're reading Philadelphia, you know that this particular issue here, it's the 25th issue of the run. And so Rodney Barnes does what Rodney Barnes does, which means he tries to blow our minds and he blows our, he just puts everything. he just basically just he detonated the whole Philadelphia universe. I'll say it like that. But I'm excited for where the book is going to go. But yeah, 25 is definitely an amazing book. An amazing book. And
you know what I liked about that book, Rich, was the dialogue scene with Croson and Anansi.
Yes.
And the sort of, I don't know, theological discussion that they were having about the nature of their roles in the universe, where Anansi is the god of mischief, and Croson is this demon who escorts souls to hell. There's this phrase, what is a god to a non-believer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where do gods get their power from? They get their power from worshipers. And in our modern society, where you have less people worshiping God, how much power does a god have? And that's a discussion that they all have, that both Anansi and Croson have, and it's a very interesting discussion. What is very interesting is Croson's take on it, and it's a really great panel, and I highly recommend you guys pick up that issue just for that alone.
Right. Yeah, that's very early on in the issue, and like I said, it was a very it's definitely a story defining issue. I think that I'm not sure if that ended the story arc, but it definitely ended a chapter in the Philadelphia lore. I'll say it like that. My next book is King Spawn. King Spawn. This is King Spawn issue number 17. King Spawn is written by Sean Lewis. Todd McFarlane helps out with it or whatever, but this is, of course, it's from the Spawn universe. And basically, Al Simmons is quote unquote King Spawn, and he has a significant role in what's playing out to be Armageddon, so to speak. What I will say about this book is that you get to see some of Al Simmons. You get to see a little bit more of Al Simmons in this book. He's Spawn, of course, but his persona Al kind of shows through in this book. Terry Fitzgerald, his best friend, who was married to his wife or his ex-wife Wanda, is in this book as well. Out of all the books that are in the Spawn universe, this is the best book by far, and it kind of is a companion to Spawn, the actual run itself. This book here, I believe, is created by the hardcore Spawn, because a lot of the stuff that they deal with goes back to the very early parts of Spawn as a series or as a comic book. So yeah, King Spawn is the best book in the Spawn universe. Absolutely, I agree 100%, Brian. And so also I want to pull up two fun books that I wanted to read. One thing about reading comics is that we read all of these books with this heavy stuff or whatever, and sometimes you just need something light to balance you out. And what's not to like about a puppy dog named Lockjaw?
Are you serious?
Lockjaw number 1. Yes, this is Lockjaw number 1. The only thing that was good on was it the Inhumans ABC show was Lockjaw. Who doesn't love a big, nice bulldog slobbering with a nice tuning fork? I will say this. Like I said, I'm a comic head. I'm not a black comic head. I'm a comic head who happens to be black. And so there are times when I need to get away from, I sometimes need to get away from Negroes and just have some fun. And I love dogs. So when I saw this, I said, you know what? I'm going to pick this up. I'm going to check this out. And I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. And it's about his life, as an Inhuman, but it's about his life before he became an Inhuman. Because, of course, he was transformed by the Terrigen Mist or whatever. The Terrigen Mist, I'm sorry. And so it kind of goes back to where he's like visiting his old, when he was a puppy, It's just adorable, Paul. He's just adorable. See, I love dogs. See, I'm a dog person. I'm a dog person. I'm an animal lover. Period.
Mhm.
Yeah, Lockjaw. That's dope. My next book, my last book. Now, you talked about Star Wars early. This is the Star Wars book. This is
I talked
called
about Star
Star
Trek, not
Trek.
Star Wars. Gosh darn it! Don't get the two
Okay,
confused.
Star
Trek.
Wars,
Yeah.
Trek, semantics, same thing.
Semantics.
Same difference.
The blasphemy.
So this is Star Wars Han Solo Imperial Cadet, and this actually is from back when they did. You know, we've all seen the Solo movie, and right, and so this kind of narrates how he joins the Empire and how he becomes a cadet, and so it's a very interesting, entertaining story. I ain't gonna lie, this was actually for me initially a cover by, because you can see there's a sister yelling at him. She's getting all of his grill, you know what I'm saying? And so Third Sister's not the first black woman in Empire, Paul. It's this sister. So she's a commander in the Empire, and she's one of the first people that Han Solo encounters. And this is when he was on this world where him and his girl was, right? And she got separated from him. And so he had no other choice, no other alternative than to become a pilot, or he tried to become a pilot in the Empire. He winds up going through infantry, and this is his introduction into the military that we call the Empire. So pretty dope read, you know what I'm saying? I probably will not pick up issue 2 or whatever, but I got this for, I think it was Black Friday. I got it for $1. So for $1, it's dope.
Hey.
As you open the door on that, I'll just add Han Solo's girlfriend from the movie Kira. If you're a Star Wars fan and collect the comics, you probably want to collect Hidden Empire, which comes out this week. Star Wars Hidden Empire #2. In Hidden Empire, Kira rises to the ranks of the Crimson Dawn, or whatever their organization's called, and is basically trying to take over the Empire from Palpatine. And they're introduced some new characters in this upcoming issue, so you might want to pick that up.
You know, it's interesting. There's a lot of Star Wars comics, and
a lot.
I am not a fan because I don't need that much stuff on my pull list. I did pick up the new Yoda book. I have the new Star Wars #1 book, but I'm just not. It's just so much, and I'm hoping that some of this stuff at some point kind of gets streamlined or whatever. But we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. But I am a Star Wars head. You know, you say Star Wars, I say Star Trek. You say Star Trek, I say
don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
People in space. That's all I know.
Trekkies will be just fine over here. You can keep your Star Wars.
What? Purish, you gotta love them. You got look, guys. We're going to transition. We're going to transition to our next topic, or next segment, I should say. We're going down the rabbit hole. Now, down the rabbit hole is a segment where we talk about deep issues. And tonight's issue is a question: who's putting that hole in your pocket? And what I mean by that is that when it comes to collecting comics, right? This is an expensive hobby. If you're broke, you can't participate in this hobby. If you got a little money, you can kind of look at the hobby. If you got a few dollars, you can kind of enjoy some aspects of the hobby. But if you really want the big, huge books, the mortgage books that Tamiko talks about, you gotta have a little bread. We all use discretionary funds to fuel our hobby. But we know that in this hobby, there are people that get into it and they blow a bag in this hobby. yours included. And I will say this: I haven't been in a position where I had to get out of the hobby, but I ain't gonna lie to you and say that, yeah, I have overspent money on books. I have made some brick purchases in my life. But I just want to have a conversation, guys, about who's also influencing us, because we Black Comic Lords, we're a brand. We salute Black creators, we salute Black books. We do our thing, right? And we make recommendations, and we tell people, go get this book, go get this. We don't take account that we might actually have people spending their rent money. Tamiko, we might actually have people spending their lunch money. So you know what I'm saying? While they got this nice picture of this nice book like here, like this Nubia book. Shout out to Nubia.
That's a beautiful book.
Yeah, you might have this nice book, right? But you might not be able to eat tomorrow if you buy this book. Now, I know that's not the case. I'm exaggerating the situation. Azelle Ray says, "I remember when $20 would get you 20 comic books." I'm old. Yes, sir. LOL. Absolutely. I listen. That was the good old days.
Yes, Lord.
But not now. $4, $5, $6, $7 for a book. FOMO, fear of missing out, is the worst thing in this hobby. Yes, sir.
That part.
That
part.
Yes.
How many of us have burned up our PayPal accounts trying to get books, trying to get everything. Me and Otis had a conversation about artists, and I told him Mike Grell is one of my favorite artists. And I told Otis I could not get into original art, because if I did, I would go broke. Because if there's anything more expensive than collecting comics, it's collecting original art. And so while you can flex or whatever, when you show that stuff costs bread, major bread. And if you don't have the funds for these books, you see these books, man, it will trigger you. It says, "I'm here, Lord of Brooklyn, and the Panthers race."
My man.
All right, then you need to cool out then, sir, because we're not on that tonight. Just take it out.
From Brooklyn.
Too funny, man. Shout out to Brooklyn. He in the building. So
is Brooklyn in the house? Without a doubt.
Yeah. He says, Brushboy said, for me, it's not books but figures. And see, that's the other thing too. Some cats are into statues, some cats are into action figures, some cats are, imagine if you're into all of it, how much bread you blow, Paul.
You don't want to know how much money
posters, Funko Pops, action figures. See, but Paul's a lawyer. Paul got a little bread. Don't let Paul fool you. He ain't broke.
Come on, man. No money, no problems. The problem is you spend too much on comic books and crap.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. I just think that I don't want us to. I'm gonna ask this question. Raise your hand if you spent over $100 for a comic book.
You didn't even have to finish the question.
And I can tell you exactly what I did that on.
What was that book?
There's only one book.
The Milestone books, the original Milestone #1. I finally got my hands on Static #1.
Okay.
Was it a 9.8?
Oh, it wasn't slab. This was raw.
You spent over $100 on a Static #1 that's raw?
No. Over 100 on all 4 of the #1.
Oh, all 4. Oh, 4. Yeah.
Now, I'll tell you now, I was tempted, but again, my budget will not allow that, because I still have to pay rent where I am. I still have to feed my children, and
you should have just told me. I got a whole stack of them out of the dollar bins just last year.
It's
okay, thanks for telling us. We'll talk about that later, sir.
I mean, I posted about it. I got there was stacks of them in there.
Yeah.
Well, either way, but see, that's the thing, though, Paul. You just like you may have a stack of books. We talked to somebody talked earlier about getting a 9.8 blue mark, right?
Yeah.
And but you have that book in your long box because you collected it when it came out, right?
For pre-order price, which means I paid probably at least 15% off the cover.
Yeah. So and that's great, Paul. You got it. You got it when you were supposed to get it.
Yeah, but here's
But
the
a
thing with
lot
that.
of
Here's
us,
the thing with that.
your
This is why I emphasize pre-order. There's two parts. I emphasize buying what you like to read. Don't focus on the hype of FOMO or spec. You know, I'm not going to say the person's name, but I recently heard someone say, yeah, I mean, I'm probably just going to go ahead and give away all of my Black Panther Shuri books at this point because the movie's already come out, the hype's out, and the value's dropped, so I'll just give them away. I'm like, why? They're good books to read.
Yeah.
And I don't get that. Like,
well,
I can't imagine giving away a book that I enjoyed reading. Unless I'm giving it to a kid, to help, spur them on to read on. But, at the end of the day, the best, in my opinion, the best spec you can do is to buy the books you enjoy reading. Because guess what? The books that become hot, the ones that these producers pick up to make movies out of, are usually the books that were actually kind of interesting to read. Civil War didn't come out of the air. That was a great read. Secret Invasion is going to be made into a movie. Why? It was a good read done by Bendis. Most of the MCU is Bendis, really. When you think about it, do you want to know what good spec is? Google MCU, Google Marvel Comics, Brian Michael Bendis. There you go. You're welcome. There's your spec. And then pre-ordering your books to keep the prices down. Once you find a series that you're interested in, pre-order it, and it'll help you keep your prices down.
I mean, here's the thing about spec, though. I see both sides. I know guys that use spec, to build collections. I mean, some of the savant collectors, they sell keys, grails, even.
Yeah, to fund the hobby. That's smart.
To fund the hobby, and so that's kind of that's a part of the collective. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, well, I'm gonna get this book and I'm gonna flip this book to get this book. Those kind of things. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that, and I know guys that frown completely on spec. Like, I remember having a conversation with a guy at a comic shop, and he just poo-pooed everything that had to do with spec. In fact, he said that anybody that, for the most part, used comics or alternative investment opportunities for his comics is not that smart. And, he had merit in what he was saying, but at the same time, you and I, Paul, know guys in this space that have $1,000 books, and they've made money in this hobby doing what they do.
Right.
I mean, it's a part of it. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, if they show you a book, like, for example, there was a book on eBay recently. Hershey posted it in our group, Fantasy Illustrated, right?
Yeah.
And that book popped up, and that book, it sat online for about maybe 10 hours. It was gone.
For $40.
For only $40. That was a steal, right? So if people know about the significance of a book, they are going to grab it.
Yeah.
But if they don't, they'll be like, well, that ain't worth nothing. But see, me and you and Derek and a few others, maybe even Tamiko, might know the significance of that book because it's on our website. But many people don't. So it's like, well, I'm not going to get this book for $40 or whatever. That's too much. But we say it's a steal. So a lot of this stuff is connected to information as well.
Right. That's a good point.
And so it's like, for example, I bought a static number one in the poly bag, the original poly bag. I got it for $35. And I honestly felt like I got it for a steal.
You did.
I got it for a steal at $35 because I remember seeing that book going for $100 in the poly bag. Wasn't slabbed, but again, all of this stuff is relative. And right now it's a buyer's market. We're in a recession. Joe Biden won't say it, but our pocketbooks, our pocketbooks are saying it. Our pocketbooks are screaming it. You know what I'm saying? You go to the grocery store and you walking out, you used to walk out with 2-3 bags for $50. Now you got one bag and you lucky if you got $30, if it's $30 or $20 in the bag. So we know that the cost of living has gone up exponentially. And so people have these books and they're like, you know what? I got to get some extra bread. So I'm going to put this book out for sale, and you get a deal like that. But that deal is not going to show up probably for a while. Again, I don't, but this is the time in which we live in it. If you guys want a big book, the time to buy big books is now. That's not a spec thing. That is a financial thing.
Just look at the numbers.
People just do not have the same money as they used to. I bought my Green Lantern 87 for $250. I want to say this past summer. Was it maybe summer, spring, early spring? I want to say $250. Decent copy, not a near mint, a fine copy, I would say. But for that price, I know I couldn't have got that book last year for that price. Right. That was a big book, $400-500 easy. So, it's one of those things where if you coming into hobby, see, when Blue Marvel came out, Paul, I wasn't in the hobby. When I came back, that was one of the hot books. That was one of the books that everybody was flexing. That was one of the books. So one day, I had a wild hair in my backside, and I said, well, let me go on and pull the trigger. And I pulled the trigger. And to this day, that's the most expensive book I ever bought. But that book, has almost tripled in price since then. Funny thing is, when the news came out that Blue Marvel was going to be in the Marvels movie, the price has not changed. Now, as the movie gets closer to being advertised or whatever, some people may try to raise the price on it. But right now, that book is kind of staying where it is. That was one particular book and character, especially issue 1, where it was the hype behind it was 100% spec. 100% spec. Nobody cared that was an original black character created by a black creator. No one cared about that. No one. Matter of fact, white people were on their channels talking about they couldn't understand why this book was going for the bread that it was going for. We knew, but they didn't know.
And if you want to know how we knew, check out our interview of Kevin Greavy on our YouTube channel, which you should subscribe to, by the way. Right there, the little button.
Yes. Brooklyn says, I got my Blue Marvel for $25 on eBay. I still can't believe it. Yeah, I mean, that and see, that's the other thing too. I bought a Blue Marvel, I think it was issue 3. And I told you guys this, I got it for $1 in a rundown shop in El Paso. I would be honest. I bought some other stuff because I just felt that guilty for getting it for $1. That literally was a steal for that particular book or whatever. And I have almost 2 complete runs of that. So,
I'm just looking for a trade. I'm not even trying to get the floppies. I just wanted the trade.
Yeah, good luck finding that.
Yeah, H&H, he reminds me also too about I found a trade, a Legend of Blue Marvel trade paperback in the wild, and I got it for $2. That book goes for $300 on eBay, and it's things like that. I'm gonna tell you, people ask, if somebody was to ask me, what is it about collecting comics that I love the most? And this is a guilty pleasure for me. It is the hunt. It is the hunt. It is going into a shop and going into a dollar bin and finding gold. That's for me. That's the thrill. I am a thrill seeker. I make no apologies for it. Some of the stuff that I get, it works out, and sometimes it doesn't. But for me, it's nothing like going into a shop and then coming out with, I remember going to a shop and pulling out 4 truth, red, white, and black books that were in dollar bins during the Falcon and the Winter Soldier thing was out, and looking at the guy behind the counter and him recognizing that he goofed leaving those books in those dollar bins because he had to sell me those books for $1 a piece. It's that real. And I know that's what keeps me in shops and keeps my checking account looking crazy sometimes. So, it is what it is. But I just enjoy that way in the hobby. And now I also will say that when we see other guys collect and share their collections, we I won't say we get envious, but we say to us, man, I want that book. Man, how you find that? I gotta find that. We post a book, and then the first thing we know when we post a book, depending on what it is, somebody's gonna go to eBay to try to find that book if they don't know nothing about it. We know that. And so, Paul, I want to apologize to everybody on behalf of Paul and the whole Black Comic Lords crew for us ruining marriages and for us having to explain.
Listen, hold it. No. See, I tell folks, okay, you got to stay in your budget. Okay, you can't stay with me. I have no room if your wife puts you out.
Here we go.
No, let me tell you, that's pretty much why I tell them. I said, listen, every time I laugh, every time I see those posts. But see, I'm in a different position because see, I don't collect comics for the hunt. I collect them for the stories because I was introduced to them when I was 12, and I had all those original ones, Howard the Duck, New Mutants. That's how I was introduced to the X-Men, by the way. And I, of course, grew up. I got married, had children. I stepped away from the hobby while being mommy. And then life happens, the pandemic starts. And then I decided, okay, since I'm stuck in this house, then let me look at these old comics and, let me recollect all the ones that I had to get rid of when I was feeding children and whatnot.
Tamiko, you're always the one talking about staying in your budget. Bryant Wilson has a good question for you to answer.
Do I tell other people? Okay, do we tell other people where we get good deals on books? I do. I mean, I'm not so competitive and I'm not so petty that I'm just going to sit there and say, well, I got this lovely book for $1 and I'm not going to tell you where I got it from. That's me. Because see, what I've done once I got back into my hobby seriously is I haunt Midtown Comics because they have these beautiful deals, 75% off, 45% off of covers.
It's funny you should say that. Brooklyn, Lords of Brooklyn says, bro, there are no spots in New York City, otherwise I would tell. I disagree, bro. Midtown Comics, they have sales. You got to go online at Midtown. Don't
they
just
have
walk
3
into
shops.
Store. Yeah,
they have 3 stores in New York.
There's 3 stores there. I mean, I've been to that store. It's a great store to walk around and stuff. But the online is where you get the deals. I mean, just what you need to do. Here's the tip. Subscribe to their emails. And check your emails every day for their emails. They have periodically these like 75% off sales of books, and it's like legit 75% off. And if you're looking, if you're like me and you like trying to invest more in older books, what you do is the pages range from like 1 to say 200. There's like 200 pages of 75% off stuff. Don't start with page 1 because that's the newer stuff. Jump to 200 and go backwards. That's where you get the deals, because I've gotten books for like 58, 42 cents from Midtown using that method. That's what I'd recommend. And then also pre-orders with them, they're very good on pre-orders. They give you, I don't know if it's 30 or 35% off, but it's one of those
30.
two. Yeah, 30. So
30.
Midtown is a great place to go buy books from. Just do it online.
Yeah.
You know, and again, that's, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I live in a place where there's like tons of comic shops. I live in Philly. So of course the dollar bins, sometimes it's good pickings, sometimes it isn't. But I will sit there and I'll be online, and then I would use Midtown and fill up holes in my comic collections, because my latest project is to get all of the New Mutants, because I got all of Alpha Flight, because those are the two ones that I was really stuck on when I was younger. I love those stories, and those stories still hold up. So I've managed to fill up that collection, and then now I've got like maybe 10 left of the New Mutants to get. And then I got back into Milestone. So I collected, I have 1, 2, 3 long boxes full of nothing but Milestone comics. And I'm still not finished. So I'm like missing maybe one from, I'm missing the last one from Blood Syndicate. I'm missing the last Icon, the couple from Hardware and Statics. And once I get those, the sky's the limit.
I love all these questions you guys have about, what's the best ways to collect. We're going to be doing an end of the year show. It's probably going to be December 30th at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to try and do a discussion about, all the books that have come out this past year. And Richard, why don't you talk about it? I think you're the one.
Yeah. I mean, basically, we're going to do a year in the end show. We're going to talk about our favorite books that came out, what favorite stories we enjoy, our favorite covers, our favorite artists, our favorite writers. What did they do this year that was so groundbreaking? Things like that. We're going to have a bunch of giveaways as well. It's going to be our way of celebrating the year of 2022. It's also going to be a time where we'll just take time out and give back to this community that has given so much to us. So that's what we're going to do, and that's 10 of December the 30th. So look forward. That's a Friday night. So that normally would be Paul and Mark's segment of Wakanda Whiskey, but it's going to be Wakanda Water.
It's Wakanda Whiskey and Blurredom. It's like a Tribe Called Quest. You say the whole thing. Wakanda Whiskey and Blurredom.
Well, that night when Rich gonna show up, it's gonna be club. Yeah, it's gonna be water, Fiji, and club soda. That's what it's. But y'all stay tuned for that. But let me say this though, and what Paul was saying about Midtown Comics is very, very true. You can get some dope deals, and a lot of that is is attributed to modern books. Now, let's say if you want to get into books from, say, the Copper Age books or Silver Age books, those books that cost a little bit more money. I will tell you this.
What we like to call the best age of comics.
Yeah. What I will tell you this is that you have to decide what kind of collection you want to have. And some guys want the best grade, best Silver Age book that they can find. You're talking books that are 40, 50 years old. And so a lot of these books are not going to be in the best shape. But if you can get a low grade Luke Cage #1, for $200, that you should go get it, because again, these books are not, there's only a finite amount of these books in the wild. And so if you want these books, they make great additions to your collection, but you have to decide whether or not you want to collect them for nostalgia reasons, or if you're a story guy like me, then you can just go pick up the reprint and keep it pushing. You don't have to go broke, you know what I'm saying? But it's like anything, you know what I'm saying? It's like, cats that are shoe heads. that they buy Jordans or they buy a rare, LeBron James tennis shoe, whatever it is. They know it's going to cost them some bread to get it. And so if you decide to get in some of these bloody waters or whatever, I know guys that have, stopped speaking to each other over some of these books. They find out one is hunting this book and another one is hunting this book at the same time. Somebody gets sniped, because that happens in auctions all the time. It can be a blood sport. No pun intended. Shout out to blood sport in the building. But it's all about, maintaining, good fellowship in the hobby. If you know a deal, let's say, for example, where you can get a Black Panther #1 for maybe $25, $30. That's a steal for Black Panther #1. But if you know it, you know what I'm saying, you might share with your best bud first, or you might share with a group of collectors, and then you put it out there for public consumption. Either way, if you share the information, there's always going to be some reciprocity, if I can say it. Boy, I hate that word. If you give, it shall be given. I'll say it like that.
Because I'll tell anybody. I'll tell anybody where I got something from. I'm not shy. I will let them know. I'm not going to keep stuff to myself. And then, of course, if you don't have the money to get the actual original comics, facsimiles.
Yep. They look just like the original.
They're great to hang on your wall.
This has been on my wish list on several places for a good couple of years. So when the facsimile popped up, I said, "Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah. I'll definitely get the facsimile and rock with it. So at least I have the story, because Mama don't have rent money to spend on comics. It's certainly not on the
Yeah, just look at this. This is actually a facsimile of Black Panther 52. And I remember this particular newspaper where they would market to kids, called Grit. And these are original advertisements. And that's the thing about comics today. We don't see a lot of advertisements anymore. You see a lot of advertisements for other books and toys and whatnot. But, these books back in the day, man, they were treasures, literally. But they were throwaways. People would fold these things up, they were funny paper, that kind of thing. But now they're worth hundreds of dollars. And it's because, nostalgia is a big thing. One thing I've learned about technology is that technology, how great it is and how wonderful it is, people still desire, the old school, so to speak. Even right now, I'm struggling whether or not to get back into collecting albums, because vinyl is back now. And I remember when vinyl was dying. There's a store. Check this. This is funny. I read this a couple of days ago. There's actually some people getting together and putting together a video rental store, because people are missing the experience of driving down to a Blockbuster and renting movies, that kind of thing, because you can stream everything from your home. It's weird though that how people will find joy in something that's quote unquote outdated. I know guys that shout out to my man Kay and the 1 in 100 podcast. They always talking about hip hop music, and they always talking about buying the CDs and cassettes. You know what I'm saying? Those things have been obsolete, but there's something about having the original that you know what I'm saying, that kind of like, it's just cool to have, if that makes any sense. Because while I love that,
Lords of Brooklyn's comment.
What did he say? He said, "I'm going to get Nubia just to deny Tamika."
Listen here, you won't be able to deny me anything if I decide to really go for it. If I decide to spend my rent money, I can have one.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. Yeah. Well, it's kind of hard to have a $300 book and you can't pay the rent. That's a sad day in Gotham. But I mean,
yeah,
we want you to be responsible as collectors or whatever, because I recognize that this is a very expensive hobby, and that there's always something cool that comes out. There's always going to be somebody that's going to put up a dope book, going to put up a dope variant. It's going to, that's why I don't even pay attention to Herschel anymore, because Herschel will put up variants or whatever, and I'll be wishing that stuff be real. And I don't want my eyeballs to consume it because I can't have it. You know what I'm saying? it's like, why you put
like
that
this
up?
one?
You put one up there, Paul. Yeah, Paul. Yeah, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? I think shout out to who was it? Was it Derek that talked about the Tosin? He talked about buying that 1 in 25 and getting it for cover price in a few places. He got it online. He didn't go into a shop. I mean, it's all about being strategic. If you have a plan, and also it's nothing wrong with having fellow collectors in the hobby that have got the T-shirt and the mug. You know what I'm saying? And asking them for advice. Should I buy this book? You know what I'm saying? If I buy it, what should I pay? What's a good price for it? Because like I said earlier, I have caught bricks. There's nothing worse than catching a brick. You somebody tells you about a hot book, you pay $40, $50 for it, and that book is trash. Or the value goes down on that book. Yeah, see stuff like that.
Now remember, these are Black Comic Lord variants. Now you can't get that.
Yes.
That's not be in your store.
Yeah,
And that's also a thing that also wanted to touch on too about covers. I mean, I usually only get one copy of a book, but then when I see the variant covers, and it's like, do I buy it just for this cover, or do I just get the cover I like, but I like all of them? And that's
the struggle. I'm guilty of that too, Tamiko. That's the struggle.
That's the terrible thing about modern comics, and especially the modern comics that I collect, because they have so many. Again, I don't know what a cover looks like, because I saw this one on Things from Another World when I pre-ordered it, and I said, okay, I must have this one. I don't care what the other one looks like. So that's another thing you have to be mindful of, because you can spend your money just like that, even with pre-orders. Because I'm going to admit this, and I know better, but I budgeted for this. My Things from Another World pre-order boxes, the medium amount that I spend on those boxes is usually over $100, and we're talking a big box like this, full of comics.
I mean, it's hey, I will gamble sometimes. Sometimes I go to a shop and they'll have mystery boxes. I've done it.
I've done those too.
It'd be 200 comics for $20. I don't might be some trash. There's gonna be some trash in there, but it's the thrill that you might actually get something dope. So mystery boxes are a terrible way to collect, but fortunately for me, I enjoy reading different stories, and that kind of thing. So I always get most of my money out of it in terms of reading something I normally wouldn't read. That's always with that. But for example, I'll give you this. Like this book just came out. This is the Nubia and the Justice League special, right? It's a variant cover.
All the covers are good though.
Cover B.
I bought this was strictly a cover buy for me. This cover is amazing. I love how Nubia's on here with a little girl. I'm not sure who did the cover art.
It's Mateus Manahini.
Okay, yeah, and this is gonna go in a short. I mean, in a bag and board, and I'll probably not crack it open again. I read it. The story was okay. I wanted it to be so much better, but that was strictly a cover buy for me. You know what I'm saying? Because the art on that was just amazing. But we all have that story too, where we bought something that's dope. It's a dope cover, but the story be a lot of those initial Nubia covers. You know what I'm saying?
The bees were better.
Yeah, the bees were better. You know what I'm saying? And that means you're gonna pay an extra dollar for it. That's the thing. You know, so you can get it for for $3.99, but if you want the bee cover, you're gonna pay $4.99. Okay, well, that's the cost. That's the price of doing business. And so, all I'm saying, guys, is please, 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 whatever you buy, whatever you collect, make sure it's something that you love, and more than make sure that you're being responsible. Please geek responsibility. Responsible. Do not spend rent money. Do not spend lunch money. Do not go these books, because guess what? They will sit in your collection, looking at you, not saying a word, with your own, and you're left with your own thoughts. Because it's like, man, I shouldn't have bought that book. Well, but you did, and you spent that money. Because you go most places, what does it say behind the counter? No refunds.
No refunds.
Message.
So,
I'm sorry, he startled me when he did that. Oh.
Too much. But I mean, it's a beautiful thing though. Just guys, be careful. That's all I'm saying.
Yep. That's the next one. I think I'm gonna do a rent money shirt. Yeah. Tamika says don't spend your rent money.
Now, let me just say that now that we don't want to, that's a Comic Tom thing. I don't want Comic Tom coming after us, sending us no cease and desist letters. Because I got that from him. So, but there's meaning to that. Geek responsibly, because again, you spending all this money like Jim Mint. I love Jim Mint because Jim Mint, he collects statues and omnibuses. Now you gotta have some bread to buy omnibuses. You know what I'm saying? You're talking $100, $200 book, volumes of comics or whatever. And you think about it, long term, it makes a lot of sense to buy a book like that, because you think about how much you spend in terms of floppies or whatever. I mean, you and I probably have probably got a gang of omnibuses in our collection if we had just not bought the floppies. But because we like the comic shop and we like digging through those long boxes, that's what we do. It is what it is. I don't own one omnibus. I own a lot of essential books that Marvel puts out, Luke Cage, Iron Man, stuff like that. But an omnibus, me paying $100 for a thick volume of books, I struggle with that. So, but either way, let's see. Lord Brooker say Tamiko Scourge and eBay trying to beat me to that Nubia. Look, y'all can that's real. Those you don't realize that's a real issue. Which is why some comic book heads have fishing holes that they don't share with nobody. I understand it. I used to be one of them people. Like, I ain't telling y'all where I got this book. I need to keep my fishing hole, my fishing hole. You know what I'm saying? And when you join the Black Illuminati of comics, then we'll tell you some fishing hole. You got to join them. You got to. Then we'll tell you.
Why are you telling them about the group though?
I know, huh? now they gonna have to kill me.
I live in a place where it has at least 6 or 7 comic book shops, and I just discovered a new one. So yeah, you'll have to give up a little bit if you want the list of all the comic shops in Pennsylvania.
That's what's up. I know that I want to make a trip to Pittsburgh and hang out with Big Phil, because Big Phil has a spot. He has showed us video of I don't know where it looked like it's in a
looks like a warehouse,
whatever it is, but it's a gang of comic books in that. I just want to spend a day and just dig through them long boxes. So we all have spots like that though. Here in Texas, We have shout out to Brian. I know you was in Dallas. Yeah. So here in DFW, we have a ton of shops, and they're being from Houston, I can say, and I told this to a guy, he didn't like it, but I told him anyway. Dallas has the better shops than the ones in Houston. Most of the shops in Houston are owned by a chain, and when a chain, nothing against a company that owns 5 or 6 comic shops, but pretty much just going to one shop is like going to another shop. You know what I'm saying? They got the same stuff or whatever, and I'm not going to bounce from shop to shop to shop in the same chain to get whatever books I'm trying to find. When I go hunting here, I can literally spend half a day just going from city to city, at shops here. So I always have fresh places to go, and sometimes I have to stop myself from like, okay, I'm not going hunting this week because I went last week, because not necessarily, the inventory has changed, but I get emails, I get notices, and from some of these shops, and they say, hey, we're having a sale, like the Black Friday sales that we got. This was amazing. I've been to Titan Comics. I've been to Titan. Titans is cool. Titans is a little expensive though. I will say that. It's a little expensive, but
And you know what? I can drop you one. I'll give y'all guys a freebie. If you are anywhere near Florence, South Carolina, Galactic Comics, that's the spot. Because when I visit my mama, I always tell her, I say, guess what? I'm going to the comic book shop today. You're not going to see me for a couple of hours. So Florence, South Carolina, Galactic Comics. Okay. Don't say I never gave y'all nothing.
I tell you what, Tamiko, me and Paul, when I was in Orlando, me and Paul took me to a Donald Trump gun shop.
Uh-oh.
Paul took me to a gun shop,
really
/ comic book shop. When he told me about it, I didn't believe him. But we
I
walked
actually
in
found
there.
out about that place from Herschel.
Yeah, Herschel, and only Herschel would know. That's the funny part. So we go there, right? They had some good books in that shop. They really did.
Yeah, I picked up. What was it that I picked up, Rich? It was the first appearance of the Black Racer.
Yeah. And I picked up a few books out of there. But they had some of the Legion of Monsters stuff. They had a lot of old school stuff. I mean, but it was just crazy that it was in this strip center, and you go in and there's guns on one side and comic books on the other.
I think the store is actually called Guns, Ammo, and Comics.
It's like I was saying to myself, there's a white boy joke in this somewhere. But yeah, it was dope though. I had a good time when I was down in Orlando.
That's how wild it is out here in Florida. I wish I could tell you stores to go to, but I really don't. Florida sucks.
I went to a shop down in what was it? Tampa Bay. Went to a shop down there, had some fun. Shops, yeah. I bought my Avengers 78, I want to say, at that shop. Real nice copy too. And yeah, man. So if you got time to go hunt, I mean, you can find whatever wherever you are. It's just whether or not you got the time to like just go places. So
Gordon's been there.
That place is
I'm glad you made it out, Gordon. I would never go into that shop by myself.
Yeah, I always you better take a witness.
And Rich, honestly, that trip I made with you was the first time I ever went into that shop. Like, I'm dead ass. Like, I wasn't gonna go into that shop by myself. I didn't know if they're gonna kidnap me, take me out back, whatever.
Yeah, that was an experience for sure. Had a good time though. That was the time that me and Paul went to and saw the Black Kirby exhibit too. That was dope. So we went and did that.
A couple months to do that.
Yeah, Oh, that's
Then
right. That how long that thing's gonna be there for a while, huh?
I think it ends like January, February. So if you make it to the Orlando area, go to Eatonville, which is the oldest African American incorporated township in the United States. Is
Yes.
Eatonville, Florida, which is right outside of Orlando. It's very easy to find. Go on Kennedy Boulevard in Orlando, and you'll find the Zora Neale Hurston Art Center, Art Museum, Museum of National Art, and you can go see out the Black Kirby exhibit with done by our boy Professor John Jennings and his partner from Black Kirby.
Yeah,
Great exhibit.
That was dope. Shout out to the Zora Neale Foundation. That was a dope experience, man. I remember when my wife and I walked in, and it was like, because we were looking for things to do, and I'm like, okay, honey, I see we're in Florida, we're in Central Florida. Okay, I know some black people living there, but let's find out where the black people go in Florida. So
you went to the
had
blackest section of Florida.
Yeah. So we got up Googling that spot and walked in and saw the exhibit on the wall. And my jaw was on the floor because I was like, I know the dudes that did this. I was like, wow. And it hit me. I was like, I told my wife, so you know what? I'm going to bring Paul. I'm going to bring him. I bet she hadn't even seen it. Bet you don't even know it's here. And he knew, but he thought I guess he thought it was already gone.
Yeah, I thought it was already gone.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was still up, man. That was a good time.
If you guys want to see our video on it, it's on our YouTube page. Check it out. It's a great video.
Let's see. Amari says, Challenge Comics and Games in Atlanta, another African-American owned LCS. Great selection of industry. That's what's up. If you're down in Houston, I will say this. If you're in Houston, go by Gulf Coast Cosmos Comics. It's a black-owned shop over in Midtown, or what we used to call Third Ward, till it got gentrified. That's so it's not downtown, it's not uptown, it's Midtown. So, but yeah, go check that out too. So that's the only black-owned shop in Houston. It's a dope place. It's kind of small, but it's very, very community-oriented shop. They do a lot of outreach stuff. It's beautiful, and that's how I was able to do the panel at Comic Palooza through them. I'm probably gonna, I'm not sure. I hadn't talked. He sent me a direct message and said he needed to, talk to me about some things. So I might be doing some up and coming things with them as well. But with that, guys, man, we're almost 2 hours in. Do we have any other things we want to talk about? You guys in the chat, we thank you guys for joining us. If you got something on your mind, the time is now to say up. Speak up, or we're going to get out of here. Because it's a work week. I got a lot to do tomorrow. A lot to do.
Yeah, get some sleep.
I know, huh?
And we also might want to think about doing a directory of Black-owned LCSs, even though the one Black-owned LCS here in Philly closed. So
okay,
that might be a thing to do.
That's something that we should do. We should take ask all the people on our page to tell us where their black-owned LCSs are and just compile that list. Even though it's all kind of already in the access guide to black comic collecting or something like that.
Okay, Derek has another poll he want to show us. Show us, bro. What you got?
DJ Wizard, Dr. Wizard, do your thing.
We got another poll to look at.
Hey, give 1 minute.
So where do you guys draw the line on what is considered a key? That's what Mike wants to know.
Oh, Lord.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
Are we talking general keys or are we talking black keys? Because that's always the debate. A key is usually a first appearance of a significant character or a major event in that character's life.
I mean, I stop short of like if it's like the first frying pan in the first black frying pan in a comic book. That's not probably a key. I will say that
if there's a major event like the death of Gwen Stacy would be a key, not a first appearance, but it's a major event.
Yeah.
When Spider-Man got his black costume.
Yeah, I also think that a key if you think about the word key, key unlocks or key connects. And so to me, it would have to be if it doesn't connect something significant, historical, otherwise, then we can't call it a key. Um, it's weird because even with us, um, geez, Brian wants to say costume changes like Falcon. Yeah, I mean, but see, when Robin changed to Nightwing, or when he changed his uniform or whatever, that became a key. Spider-Man, what is it? Secret Wars #8. That's a key. The first appearance of the symbiote or whatever. That's a key. You know, and it's one of the most coveted keys. But it's so weird. I mean, it's like, um, I mean, it's kind of subjective in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? Because what I might think is significant, you may not. Um, I don't know, man. I don't know. All I know is that some of y'all going broke behind what people thinking what's called a key. And it's weird too because he says the issue where Steele's grandma was a cast iron skillet like it was nothing. Gotta be a metahuman.
I give an example
I mean,
of why I say, sometimes it's also what's a key to you. So not all keys may be on Key Collector. If you're relying strictly on Key Collector, understand that's a very generalized assessment of books, and not all of them are going to be black centered. I mean, I was at my LCS this past week, and I found this in a back issue bin for $3.
Okay.
Y'all know the significance of this book?
No.
This is the issue
No clue.
where T'Challa and Reed Richards goes into the necropolis. This is after T'Challa. This is after Doom War, where T'Challa was depowered as the Black Panther. He lost all his powers. Shuri became the Black Panther. He goes into the necropolis and begs Bast to give him some powers. He says, let my sister still be queen and let her be Black Panther, but I want to be Black Panther too and serve my people the way I can. And so Bast says, well, I can't make you Black Panther again because your sister is Black Panther, but I can make you King of the Dead. So this is the book where T'Challa gets his King of the Dead powers, in which he taps into the powers, knowledge, and history of every Black Panther before him. He got a massive power upgrade. So he has all of their knowledge, all of their powers. Some of that includes sorcery. Some of that includes the ability to automatically generate weapons with his hands. I mean, he got a significant power upgrade, and this is a key. If you're a Black Panther fan, this is a key. And I got it for, as you can see there, $3 in the back issue bin. I think the guy who owned the shop realized the mistake, because as he was going through all of my purchases, he stopped and he looked at this and shook his head, because I think he knows he kind of messed that up. So
and that is Fantastic Four. What issue?
Huh?
That's what issue of Fantastic Four?
Fantastic Four 608. You also want to get 607, this is the part 2. 607 is the part 1.
All right.
Okay. Well, you just got a key, a key, and a spec. Put the poll back up, Derek.
It was the wrong one. Hold on a minute. Let me see why that's not working for me.
Okay.
Yeah, we put up another poll while you were talking about Philadelphia. So
for all of you who don't know who this guy is, this is Dr. Wizard, aka Derek, the producer, aka Dr. Flex, aka Funkmaster Flex. This is the guy that does all the stuff that makes us look good. He does not get enough credit for what he does. If you like all the videos and animation and stuff like that, that's this guy. He's what makes us look good and look far more professional than we actually are. And he does not get his flowers or accolades enough, so I just wanted to give him his shine. And please give Derek a shout out in the chat.
Have you read any of the Philadelphia series? 73%.
Yeah, Rich. Yeah, you were
Yes.
talking about it. I was just curious from the audience how many people have even tried reading it. So it's
So
a good number. It's a good percentage.
almost a third of the people have read or
Mhm.
three quarters of the people have read Philadelphia. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it's a dope book. I mean, it's like, I mean, for a horror comic, it's top notch.
Mhm.
I'm curious to see what Rodney Barnes is going to do going forward, because again, in issue 25, he basically, without spoiling it, a character that has been a mainstay is no longer with us, and so he's pivoting, and the according to Jason Sean Alexander, the next 5 issues that they're going to be doing, the next story arc, is going to be mind blowing. He was like, if you think Rodney's gone too far, I mean, he's really going to take you guys for a ride. So I'm so happy and really proud of Rodney Barnes as a comic book writer, because he's one of the few guys that we've interviewed that a couple of times now that is very, very much a celebrity. He's producer of Winning Time, Showtime with the Lakers. This guy works in Hollywood. This guy he's a big deal, and he rocks with us. And I've been a fan of Philadelphia since day one. Very, very humble cat. So salute to him and the work that he's done in his Philadelphia universe. And it's so sad too, man, that he's another guy that if I had to just like spend my bread, I can't even subscribe to a Substack, because I'm missing. I hate that I'm missing out on Sheriff Gatlin and 20 Past Rigor and Elysian Gardens. Those are books I can't read because they're on his Substack. They're Substack only titles, But as long as he's putting out Philadelphia and Nita Halls, I'll be right there.
And Blackula soon.
And I just ain't got an extra $10 to give him every month. But yeah, Blackula is definitely getting ready to come out as well. So that graphic novel is going to be amazing.
And Rich, you asked if the chat had any other topics they want to talk about.
Yes.
So
Okay,
Lord of
here we
Brooklyn,
go.
he posted this question.
What do you think of
about
Nate
Moore's
Moore's
comments on the
one comic fan as writer?
It's an interesting topic. There's a couple ways to view it. The thing with doing these comic book movies is that Marvel or Kevin Feige has taken an approach to it of, you got these properties that have, some of them have over 70 years of history, right? How do you condense all of that into a 2.5 hour movie? Do an origin, do a story, and then also do action, have a climax, have an end, and make it all a self-contained thing. It's not possible. It's not possible. And if you don't put those Easter eggs in the story, you're going to have comic heads like me and Rich and Tamiko and Derek in your face on Sunday nights talking about how your movie was trash because it was straight from the comics. But on the other hand, you have lots of people that are not comic book collectors, and you want to make your money, and you need to make it accessible for the casual fans. So I think what they kind of do is they take a method of, if you had to describe who Blade was and his history, and do it in a 5-minute conversation. So tell me everything you know about Blade in 5 minutes or less. What you say, that condensed down version that you talk about, is what goes into the MCU. You're in essence taking the key stuff that you pick out, the highlights that you pick out, and that's what you do your story about. And I think what Nate Moore may mean about this is writers that are not invested in collecting and reading these stories for, decades can read the material, because Marvel gives they give the actors, they give the directors, they give them omnibuses and trade paperbacks and say, here's the reading material, read this, and then go ahead and write your story. They do that. Ryan Coogler said he didn't really read Black Panther until he did the movie. They gave him trade paperbacks and he said he read them all. And so from that, you have someone who's an outsider who's reading all this stuff and condensing down what the highlights are so that they can do a film. If they gave me a Black Panther film to do, it'd be a lot longer than 2.5 hours because I'm a fan.
Well, I know that for myself. I think that I listened. I heard someone say on I don't know if it was Reggie Collects or another podcast that you really can't say that you love the art until you actually say, or you can't say that you really, really love this art if you don't actually at some point participate in it, which means to do it. It's like, okay, if I'm passionate for comics and that kind of thing, then at some point I'm going to want to write a comic myself, or I'm going to want to be a part of this in some capacity. And so I think that I won't say that it doesn't have merit what he's saying. He may have had his point as to what he was getting at, but I think that for those of us that read comics or whatever, comics are a source of entertainment. They also, for some kids, are a barometer on how to live life. And so it's like, okay, in these last 20 or so years, you've had deconstruction of superheroes. And so the stories that are going to come out of it, they're not going to be the same stories that Jim Lee, that with Stan Lee and Jack Kirby had in mind. You're going to get stuff like Alan Moore in terms of Doomsday Clock or The Watchmen or what I'm saying, The Boys, stuff like that. I don't know. I mean, I really don't have an opinion about it, I guess. I think that if somebody wants to write a comic book and they inspired to do it, then they should. It's not like, you have to be quote unquote an expert. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, there was a book that came out last year. Walter Mosley wrote The Thing. Walter Mosley is a writer, right? But that doesn't make him just because he's a dope writer doesn't make him a great comic book writer. But The Thing comic book was pretty good, right? Rodney Barnes was not a comic book writer prior. I mean, the first book that he did was Falcon, and then he went Credible, and did some other stuff, and he got better and better and better. So
yeah, but with those two examples, both those guys said they were comic fans when they were, they grew up being comic fans. I think what Nate Moore's talking about is studying people that weren't even comic fans.
Yeah,
that goes to a Zor Beast comment here. When you don't read or understand the original comic, you get the Darwin situation from X-Men First Class. That's a valid argument.
I also think that there's a fine line where, I think what Nate Moore was thinking of was the fanatics who said that this movie has to be exactly as it came from the comic, everything included. But most of us comic book fans, we are a little bit more realistic. We know that you cannot put all of these long boxes into a 1-hour movie. So it would be better to get somebody who's probably not a fanatic, but a fan, but somebody who knows the material at the very least. That's all I ask for. At least know the general material and throw in a few things here and there just for us comic book heads. And then they're doing perfectly fine. So
yeah, I personally believe, although as I stated before, I understand the logic of what's probably going through Nate Moore's head and doing and saying what he said. But I personally believed in order to do these properties justice, you have to be a fan of the source material. I'll give you the perfect example. One of the best Batman movies ever done, the most accurate ones ever done, was done by Matt Reeves. That guy's a diehard Batman fan. And he did one of the closest renditions to a Detective Comics book I've ever seen on screen. I think people that are fans of the original material tend to do the best, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I would hope that we would get good, credible source material in our stories or whatever when it comes to the big screen. but it's not always the case. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. I mean, but at the same time, though, I have never been a proponent of leaning on Hollywood to entertain me or to tell these stories. I like going to the movies with a big bucket of popcorn and watching, but I'm not so vested. I can be, I can critique or I can even criticize to a certain degree when I see something I think is just whack. I can say that, but even in that though, it's like the Wakanda Forever movie. It was a good movie. I just didn't like it. but I'm not. No, but here's the thing though, because I didn't like it does not mean that the movie didn't have merits. The movie had a lot of merit. Here's the thing.
When you say stuff like that, it reminds me of Han Solo talking to Princess Leia about Lando Calrissian. Can you trust him? No, but he's my friend.
Yeah. Well, that's life though. I mean, again, it's one of those things where when I left the theater or whatever, I didn't feel like life was over. I didn't feel like it was the end of the world. I didn't. I mean, I was like, yeah, I could have. But see, I feel like that sometimes when I read comics, it's just like, okay, man, this was trash. That was a waste of my time. How many times we've had that experience? You read a book, you spend $6 on a comic book, you think it's gonna be nice, and you think it's gonna be good, and it's not good. And you be like, ugh, that was a waste of money. You know what I'm saying? But what do? You stick it in a bag and board, you throw it in your long box, and you might not ever look at it again. That's what we do, right?
Better.
Or they can say trade them, or give them away. You know what I'm saying? Like you want to do, Paul. Was that Black Panther #1? Yes, on December 30th, 9 p.m. at our end of the year show. Paul is going to be giving away a bunch of #1 Black Panthers written by John Ridley. Y'all, stay tuned. So
it'll probably be more #2s than #1, but yeah.
If you need a Black Panther John Ridley #1, I promise we're gonna hook you up. Saying with our giveaways. Now, Lords of Brooklyn says the Russo brothers got the MCU to climatic close, and they are comic fans.
They are.
Some stuff makes sense, and again, that's great when we have people that's vested, but you're gonna have people that's not vested. I mean, look, Amazon bought the rights to Lord of the Rings, and we got this thing called the Rings of Power. They bought it, and a lot of the canon guys were very upset with them because they bought the rights to J.R.R. Tolkien's lore, and they didn't like what they did with it.
Well, let me ask you: do you think Lord of the Rings? You think Lord of the Rings would have gotten less criticism if House of Dragons hadn't come out at the same time?
Well, I will say this:
it wouldn't have hurt. It wouldn't have hurt.
Yeah. House of Dragon really did them a favor.
Did them a favor? How?
I think it kept more eyes off of them, because if more people had saw it, and that would have been the only thing that they had to watch to pass for quote unquote that type of story or that type of genre of film. No.
I don't know about that. I mean, most people, when I hear them criticize Lord of the Rings, the first thing they say is, I prefer House of Dragons. I think that comparison is like automatically made.
I'm one of those people because, again, see, here's the thing: if you watch the original Lord of the Rings, the chief protagonist in the movie, I can't think of her name. She's in the original. Yeah, she's in the original Lord of the Rings, but her character is different. In this portion of Lord of the Rings, she's very arrogant, and quote unquote elves are a little bit arrogant. But she was like, she was triggering for a lot of fanboys. I'll say it like that. Yeah. And so they just didn't like her character. She was just not a likable character in the beginning. And so it's like she's doing things that they felt like wasn't her character or true to her.
That's the name.
in Galadriel that was true to her character in the Lord of the Rings storyline, if that makes any sense. You know, of course it is. You get older, you get wiser.
Brian, don't encourage him. Don't say that.
That'd be funny. But I mean, you know, again, when you go away from the source material and you start making up stuff, you run the risk of offending some people. You know, I don't know. I will say this: Chip Zdarsky wrote a book called God dog it, I can't think of the name of it. Chip Zdarsky just finished a 5-issue book about a comic book writer who wrote a comic book, right? And
you're talking about point? You're talking about point something?
No, I can't think of the name of it. God dog it. But it'll come to me. But anyway, he's a comic. It's about a comic book writer who lost the rights to his comic book, and so they're making movies of his comic book creation, and he's going to theaters and he's watching it and he's enjoying it. You know what I'm saying? But his family is broke. Okay, now they're watching this IP is making millions and billions of dollars, right? And people that are in the film, you know, actors are disrespecting him because they don't really know that he's the reason why that they're rich and they're million. But he's just this comic book writer, and the whole story is about him discovering that he still has the rights legally to this IP. And so one of the things about it that comes out is that they've taken liberties with his character. So he's inspired to go back to the drawing board and rewrite more comic books. He doesn't want the money. He doesn't want a stake in the movies or whatever. All he wants is the right to be able to write his comic book. And he gets it. His family thinks he's crazy, but all he wants to do is be able to write his own comic book because it was his creation. And he gets it. But the thing is, it's like, you know, a lot of the stories that we see on TV, movies or whatever, Jack Kirby's family's not getting that money. You know what I mean? Stan Lee's family's not getting that money. That money's going straight to Marvel in a pit. You know what I'm saying? It's like we could talk about Wakanda forever all day. You talk about T'Challa and we scream T'Challa all day long, recast T'Challa, say T'Challa, blah blah blah. But the people that created T'Challa are not even getting they're not getting nothing. They're getting acknowledgments. That's what they get. That's what they get for their trouble. That's what they get for their pain. That's what they get. That's why I can't get too caught up with a lot of stuff, because the real tragedy is not T'Challa. The real tragedy is the creator is not getting their fair share. That the real tragedy is that these companies take away from the source of the creation. Dwayne McDuffie, his widow, shout out to her. The reason why Milestone took so long to come back out is because they were trying to cut her out of her fair share of her husband's creation. So we can get mad at DC. I'm glad she got her bread, because if anybody deserved that money as his spouse, she did. And I'm like, no, because if you, Tomiko, come out with a comic book and you sell it, or it comes out and your son, something happens to you and your sons are not able to get rights to it, then what do I look like going to the theaters and critiquing all of this stuff or whatever? And I know you as the author of it, your family's not even eating off of what you create. And that happens every day in comics. That's why we keep it real talk.
And we just got Dr. Wizard.
Yeah, so you know,
message.
But I mean, it's something to think about, though. I'm just saying, y'all. I'm just saying. You know, I'll be talking. Look, we got to get out of here. It's almost 2:30. 2 hours and 30 minutes in. We've had fun. So again, guys, please like the video. We've been on here too long for y'all not to like the video. I think we were up to like 7 7 likes. What's wrong with y'all? Help us out,
You
please.
definitely need to
Like the
subscribe
video.
to our channel. You got to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Please, please, please. We're trying to build something. But again, stay tuned for our end of the year show. We're going to try to do a special show, but we gotta work some things out in the background. We're going to be talking to you. Somebody, Mike Carson, brought up about Black Keys. We're going to have a conversation about Black Keys, hopefully next week. Not completely sure, but once we nail down everything, you guys will see a advertising or something for it. But yeah, we're going to talk about Black Keys, that books that you should collect, books that might put you in the poorhouse if you're not careful. But but we as Black Comic, while you under a bridge reading that comic book, what I'm saying, we're gonna be right here in our comfy homes talking about these comic books and these creators. That's what we do.
Stay in that
My
budget.
man, I want to salute my man Paul. He's under the weather, but he's run his mouth. He's such a lawyer, such a lawyer. Can't shut him up.
Wow.
Let the record show.
That's
But he's been,
we must show him love.
yeah, we got to show my man some love.
Well wishes.
He stuck it out with us today. We didn't think he was gonna make it, but he did. So
I'm
the
glad we're
Queen
recording
Tamika,
this documentation of the intentional infliction of emotional distress you're causing tonight.
hey, we just having fun, bro. We just having fun. You my brother, and I'm gonna talk about you and go mess with you. Because if you wasn't, I wouldn't do it. I'd be more respectful. But because you're my brother, I can be just a little disrespectful. Just a little. Because I love you. That's what you do with people that you love. If you don't believe me, ask Deion Sanders. Shout out to the people of Jackson, Mississippi. Y'all need a new head coach. It's the chief. It's the original OG Rich. Got the chief done down, the Queen Tamiko, Dr. Wizard. We getting out of here. We love you. Ain't nothing you can do about it. And stay tuned for next week when we'll troll some more people and other celebrities. We love you. Until next time.
Take care.
Peace, y'all. Oh.